Great day, everyone. Ed Dudley coming at you again from Durham, North Carolina, in the beautiful city and state and continent of the United States. And I'm honored and privileged today to be looking at this amazingly beautiful woman, my co-host. She got too many boyfriends though, but that's a whole nother story. We'll talk about that on another time. Hey, Charmaine, how are you?
I'm fabulous, Zulued. It's always a privilege to be in your company. Let
Yeah.
me just come out clean and straight. You are my only boyfriend.
In the U.S.
And I am grateful every time we connect. And I'm grateful
Yes.
for your energy, for your wisdom. And it's really, really amazing to be in your company. So
Yeah.
so you don't have to worry about all the others. They're just there. You're
Well,
just the special
I'm
one.
I'm I got a little jealousy, just a little bit, when you start talking about these other
Well, I'm going to
boyfriends.
share you with an amazing woman today. So you're going to have two girlfriends today. How's that?
Hey, I like that.
Good. So I'm gonna. We chatting to one of, I believe, a phenomenal woman. Not to believe, she is a phenomenal woman. She's a businesswoman, mom, granny, a beautiful soul,
Franny.
actually. Yeah, she is a gran. You wouldn't say, but she is. So she's a special woman that uses her life's journey to be able to inspire other women and to demonstrate.
Let's
So
bring
yeah,
her
just
in.
let's
Let's
bring
just
her
bring let's
in.
just bring her on in.
Hello,
Hello.
Alad. Oh, it's good to see you. Welcome to the Ubuntu house, Aladia.
Thank you. Thank you for this amazing opportunity.
Thank you
I'm
so
gonna
much for
have
joining us. It's a pleasure to connect with you and be able to sit here and chat with you a little bit, learn about your story, what you're doing, what you got going on, and more importantly, what you want to do in the future too.
And I'm really excited to share my story because I know that it's going to inspire so many other people out there to know that when you hit rock bottom, you just need to use it as a spring, as a platform to be able to jump and rise higher in life.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Yeah. Aladia, there's so many ways we can take this conversation, but before we go into the your journey and how you actually got here, I do want to say congratulations. Congratulations for actually being nominated for Entrepreneur of the Year. You're a you're a
Congratulations.
young
You
you're a
and might I
young
add, it's a global award.
Uh,
well done. Absolutely well done. Very quickly, Elijah, do you want to just take us through your entrepreneurship journey and how you actually got there? Because it was during COVID, right, that you decided you needed to start a business.
Yes, so I had been in retail most of my life, and my last job, I was a regional manager for an ice cream brand. In Jan 2020, I was actually promoted to run both Johannesburg and Durban. However, the day after the president announced lockdown, I was called into the office and papers were already drawn up, and I was told, you're going to get a third of your salary or retrenchment. And that was a real slap in the face because, I mean, from just having gotten promoted a month ago, I'm now being told a third of your salary or retrenchment. And my ex hadn't been working for about 8 years. So I had been the sole breadwinner at home. And, I left the office that day in tears, not knowing what I was going to do because I knew that I couldn't survive on a third of my salary. However, there wasn't much I could do because we were going into level 5 lockdown. So, for the whole of level 5 lockdown, the only thing that I ever did at home with my boys was cook. And we tried out new recipes like everyone was doing. And I did my exercises though, because, I knew with all of this eating, I was going to put on weight. And I'm very conscious about my weight. So, yeah, so I managed to get in my 10,000 steps every single day in the complex. I used to just do these circles. And yeah, so level 5 lockdown passed and we went into level 4. And then my company called us to say, okay, now customers are allowed to come in and collect. However, if you're going to come back to work, you're going to work and only get paid if the company makes a profit. And because of me being the regional manager, I was told to go and speak to all the staff members and, to convince them to do it. And because I was so desperate for my job myself, I also said to myself, you know what, I'm going to do this because I have this or nothing. And I called my sister and she said to me, she said, you will not do that. It is not legal. They cannot do this to you. So I left that day, went home, cried for the whole day, hardly slept. The next morning, I woke up. It was the 3rd of May. I called my mom and I started crying. And she said, "You better than this." She said, "Put the phone down and call me back with an idea." Then I spoke to a friend of mine, Elaine, from the neighborhood. And I said, "Elaine, I've come down to this position. I really don't know what I'm going to do." So, a few months ago, I had fed a homeless tented area in our neighborhood and I cooked chicken biryani for them. So Elaine was with me then, because we do all the community work together. So she tasted the biryani. So when I told her that, she says, "Sell your food." And, and that's where it all started. So I had the last 2 kilo packet of chicken in my freezer that day, and that was going to be dinner and lunch for us. Everyone was still sleeping at home. My ex, as he would, because waking up at 8 was a bit too early for him. So I took the chicken out the freezer, defrosted it, I cooked it, and I advertised in the neighborhood group. Yeah, so I advertised chicken bunnies. And within half an hour, I had my first order. So a lady from the neighborhood, Kerry, she ordered 2 chicken bunnies. And then I was without packaging and no money. So I called my dad because dad always comes to the
Oh,
rescue.
yeah.
So my dad went to the stores. He bought me packets. He bought me bunny paper. And yeah, I delivered the bunnies. And she gave me some feedback. She said to me, "You know what? The next time you make a bunny, don't use the middle of the bread because the bunny is too soggy and stuff like that." And I took that with an open mind. And I said, "You know what? This is where I'm going to grow from." So that day, the chicken curry sold out. So I used the money from that day to buy sugar beans for the next day because that was the next affordable item. And being a Monday, most people, it's meat-free Mondays. And Elaine ordered 5 portions of sugar beans and rice. And then I used the Monday money to buy mince for the Tuesday. And as I did that, each day of the business was just paying for the next. And but the one thing that I did, which I ensured I did, was the very first day that I started the business. I called my daughter and I said, "I'm starting this business and it needs a name." So she gave a few names and we played around, and that's how we came up with Aladia's Kitchen. And I had a little notebook. Yeah, so in the notebook, I wrote down budgets because I said you cannot operate a business without budgets. I need to have budgets. So yeah, so every day had a budget, and I started with 1 meal a day, going into 2, and then the weekend there was obviously the biryanis and things that people would enjoy on a weekend. And yeah, at the end of the month, I paid my rent.
That is phenomenal. It is.
No,
Go ahead,
I
go.
got a question. For someone stateside, what is Bonnie?
What is
What is a bunny?
a
It's
bunny?
bread.
You don't know what's a bunny, child?
No, he's from the USA. He
I'm
would
from the
know.
US.
Explain it to him.
So it's basically a bread. The bread, you cut it into a quarter, a half, or full loaf. You dig out the center and you fill it with the most delicious, flavorful curry where the gravy just flows over. Yeah, and then you put the little bit of the pocket that you removed on the top, and then you dig in and you eat it with your hands.
I have to give some history.
Second comment. Wait a minute. I want some when I get there.
You will.
Definitely.
We're going to Aladia's
Definitely.
Kitchen.
I like to eat.
Oh, you did even better. You get me a ticket to the US and I will make you a bunny chow there.
Oh, she's a good negotiator. Clearly, that's why she runs a successful business.
Oh, I like that.
No, because you said so many beautiful things, Aladia. I'm going to come to it, but I just want to give a history lesson to Ed. The bunny chow actually started in the apartheid era. So African and people of color were not allowed to go into restaurants and shops. So the easiest way of actually serving them was to be able to cut out the bread, put the actual curry in, and hand it over to them. So as a meal to eat, but it's a meal that's enjoyed by all of us. I mean, I lived on chips when I was in varsity because I didn't really have money. So
Yeah.
so it's yeah. Okay. Elijah, you said so many powerful things, right? Imagine starting on like the way you have and the way you've described it to being
Mhm.
appointed, like nominated 2 years later as Entrepreneur of the Year. But it's your attitude, it's your will, it's your drive, it's your exercise, that 10,000 steps. When you have clarity of mind, things seem to actually fall into place quite beautifully. So don't undermine the power of moving your body and exercise to get clarity.
Mhm.
So well done to you. We are so proud of you. And yeah, I'm sharing my boyfriend with you. So when he comes, I don't cook. You can actually make him a bunny.
Okay. Well,
Charmaine's going. She's
a
going to.
few weeks ago, I had a customer that came through. A friend of his brought him, and he's from the US. And he just couldn't stop asking questions because the way he enjoyed the bunny. He called me to the table. He wanted to know who was the owner of the business, and he asked so many questions. And then he even ordered one as a takeaway to have for dinner.
Oh, that's amazing. What
Oh,
you need to do is take a picture of one when you do make one, and I'm going to send it to
Okay.
him, or we'll
yes.
email it to him so he can get a feel of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, Elijah, I'm going to move the conversation into your journey and what connected us. So, Ed, I have to share with you. Um, the reason I met Elijah is through my husband. So he understands that I have a mission to actually showcase women doing amazing things. So he read the newspaper and he goes, I think you'd be interested in this woman. She does good things. So that's how Elijah and I actually met, actually. And then, just like you, she was part of the GBB EOH campaign,
Mhm.
and that was quite a great message that you landed. And what we want to do today, if possible, Elijah, Ed, and I, if you could just take us through the whole entire journey as a young woman and how you navigated that route to get to where you are today. I think that story is so powerful to land with women all over the world, actually.
Okay, so I spoke about my weight earlier on, and it was always a problem for me growing up. I was always overweight, and when I was in school, I had a lot of acne, and that actually took away a lot of my self-worth, which resulted in me, seeking attention in all the wrong places. And even though I was doing really well at school, I mean, I was head prefect, head of the debating team, taking part in speech contests, but I never felt good enough because everyone else was getting attention from the boys, and there I was just, I was doing well at cat. Nobody really, I never really had like a lot of friends. And because of me being like so good at school, the one guy asked me to do his homework, and little did I know that this was the first trap that I was falling into. So I said yes to do his homework, and yeah, eventually we started dating. And the you know the violence actually started then, the abuse started then, because he would walk me home from school, and just when the our walk ended, he would hug me, and when he would hug me, he would bite me really hard on my shoulder. And I would not do anything or say anything. I would just like cringe with pain and go home. And when I removed my school uniform, I would see this whole circle of blue. And just because I wanted to be loved, I just allowed that to happen.
How
And
old were you?
then I was 16. Yeah, I was 16. And when I think back then, if I had known then what I know now, I would have stopped it there and then and realized that this guy's not good for me. And we dated. A few years later, I fell pregnant out of wedlock. And when I told my parents, my dad said, you don't have to get married because we'll take care of you and your child. Well, my dad actually did take care of us because he paid even for me to give birth to my baby, because my husband then, well, he couldn't really afford to, and my dad would not allow me to go to a government hospital, so he made sure that we had the proper facilities. My dad said to me, "We will take care of you, and we'll do everything for you," like they were always doing. But being an Indian girl, you obviously want to marry the first guy that you slept with because of what the community is going to say and what people are going to say. And I've always been this type of person who felt that I could fix everyone and make every situation better by being kind to people and being loving. And unfortunately, it didn't work, because it just got worse from there on. We got married. I moved into his place. It was very different from where I stayed. Obviously, I was a spoiled child, even though I was the eldest. My parents really went out of their way to make sure I was always happy. And the violence started on the very first day after I got married. And that was because, I was young. I was missing my parents. And so when I cried about it, he gave me my first slap. And yeah, and then he just went downstairs. He came back a little later and he apologized. And he says, "No, I just feel because you want your parents more than you want me and whatever. And that's why I did it." So I apologized because I felt like, okay, I should not have been the one crying. And there it started because I apologized every time I got a hiding. It was my fault, it was something that I did. And from then, it had been back and forth. I left him many times, went back to my parents. He accused me of having affairs all the time. And yet, there I was at home, then, taking care of everything, making sure the house was clean, the meals were cooked, being the good wife. And yet, he would come home on a Friday, he would shower, get ready. I had to iron his clothes, and, he would be gone. And he would come back on the Sunday. So when he comes back on the Sunday, I would check his pockets because now you want to know where he was, and I would find numbers of women. And I called the one lady, and she said, "Yeah, he met my parents last night," and stuff like that. Yeah. So, and then when I would confront him, then it would mean that I would get a hiding because now I am causing a problem. I'm accusing him of stuff that he's not doing. The one incident I
It's
wouldn't
weird
forget.
though. He accuses you of having affairs, but he's
That's
having
how
affairs.
it normally happens. They'll constantly, well, you're doing this, you're doing this. And the reason why they're accusing you because they know they're doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So then there were two incidents, and now when I look back, I actually laugh about it. So the one time we were together in the workshop in Durban, having this date sort of on a Saturday morning. So this
It's
girl
actually
walks
more.
up to us.
It's a mall. It's like a shopping mall you
Yeah.
guys have in the States. Same thing.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it was burnt down during the looting, but then it was the workshop. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're walking around, and this girl comes up to us, and she greets him and stuff, and he introduces me as his sister. So
Don't mean to
yeah,
laugh. Sorry.
yeah. So like I was young and naive and whatever then, and even though I had a brain, I didn't have a brain, So yeah, so when we finished the conversation with her, we walk away, and I said, like, "So why did you say that I was your sister?" He says, "No, I was just joking." So you know me,
Aladia,
I was.
I just want to ask you a question.
Mhm.
You're a smart girl, right? Nobody becomes head girl without having a brain on them. Let's be honest. So you're smart, right? Is it that you didn't know it, or you chose to ignore it and pretend that it's okay because you didn't want to get a beating? Or you
Um,
genuinely just believed him when
well,
he told
I think I did it for two reasons. One was just to be accepted and loved.
you? Okay.
And then the other reason was, yes, I didn't want to provoke him, because if I got angry about anything or if I asked anything, then I was on the receiving end of a beating. And yeah, so that was the first incident. And the second incident was when I was pregnant. I was working then at a store in the workshop, and so this girl comes in. I'm standing behind the counter, and so she asks, "Are you Vaneshri?" And I said yes. She says, "Oh, well, I am his girlfriend." And I was like, "Okay." There I was standing 7 months pregnant. But you know what? The thing that actually made me smile that day was, though, even though I was 7 months pregnant, she was my size and she was not pregnant. So,
You mean,
so yeah. And I mean, and I think that these are the things that got me through what I went through. Was I always look on the bright side of things. I never God gave me this amazing ability because he knew he was going to use me as an instrument to be able to help other women. So he said, God definitely said this to himself. He said, if I'm going to put her through this so that she can help other women, I'm going to give her this huge amount of strength to get through it. Because when I look back at everything that I've been through, and I wonder, like, how did I excel in my jobs? How did I help so many people? And when I came out with my story this year, all of my staff members from Durban contacted me and said they never would have guessed that this is what I was going through, because I was helping all of them. If they were going through fights in the middle of the night with their boyfriends, I was the person they would call, and I was there the next morning to give them that hug. Little did they know that I probably just got a beating, and came to work. And there I was, having the big smile, hosting my morning talks at work with the most amount of motivation and passion. And, my smile is something people could not take away from me no matter what.
Yeah.
I even at one stage, I started this coping mechanism where, like, if one of them were actually like swearing at me or speaking to me, I would start like making jokes about them in my mind so I could block off what was happening. So I found so many ways of coping. And I have to say, God has been absolutely amazing in this journey. And I don't regret anything that I went through, because it gave me the strength to be who I am today. And, if I didn't go through what I did, I wouldn't be able to be the person that I am today. I mean, I'm a survivor. I'm a victor. I survived all of that. And if I survived all of that, then the rest of my life is going to be absolutely amazing, because now, I mean, it's going to be a walk in the park.
oh, absolutely. It's weird that you're actually sharing as to how you used to portray this, have this happy disposition despite what you're going through. I can actually relate to that. I used to be a law student. I used to study liver res, and I used to get beaten up like in my chest, not in my face, but
Mm.
this guy was tall. He was the typical tall, dark, and handsome,
Mm.
and thrown on the bed and
Like
like get
Ed, you mean like Ed?
like tall, dark, and handsome. Yeah, typical. I mean, those are the
Minus
days
that
of his
other
life.
stuff.
And he was a cop. He was like in the protective service thing. He wasn't even a varsity student. But long story for another day. So he used to beat me up, right? And I used to have
Mhm.
bruised ribs and bruised whatever. And I used to go to classes pretending like nothing happened, smiling, still hugging. And I'm a hugger. So when people come in for the hug, it's like I'm taking it, but I'm like in real pain. But know what he did? I have
Mm.
such a high pain threshold, mentally and physically. No matter who tries to break me down, they're just wasting their time. So the power of going through these things just gets you stronger on the other side. So I can connect with your story, actually. Ed,
Absolutely.
story for another day. I can see the look.
Charmaine. So Charmaine, she doesn't always share everything about her, and that's absolutely fine. But we get here, she starts, and I've known what Charmaine was. It's about 2 years now, and every time we get on the show, she drops another little nugget, and I'm like, what? She drops a little nugget. It's absolutely beautiful, though, because I do believe this conversation is much needed. It's much needed from so many people, both men and women. We need to teach our young ladies it's not okay for somebody to put their hands on you.
Uh-huh.
And they need to stop it immediately, because if they do it once, typically they're going to do it again. We need to teach our young men, keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah.
And we don't teach them that. We'll teach them a lot of other stuff, but we don't teach them that. And I'll never forget, I was 17 years old, and my girlfriend at the time, I don't even forget what we even were arguing about, but she was at my house, and she went into the bathroom and was crying. And my dad heard her crying. He did not knock on the door to say, "Are you okay? What's going on?" He marched like right toward me, beeline. "Did you put your hands on her?" I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, no, I didn't." And that was my first time. I'm like, oh, wow, there's men out here that actually do this. There's young boys that actually do this. Go ahead, Charmaine.
the point, I mean, that's such a powerful thing your dad did, to
Yeah.
come and ask you as to what actually happened. And that's not acceptable behavior. What you sometimes find in the Indian culture, it's our faults.
Mhm.
We
Hmm.
don't get the support from our partners' families. They put them in on their pedestal. Well, that has been my experience, Aladia, in that experience. But this is
Yeah.
I'm in a beautiful experience now, so it's a different situation. Sorry,
Yeah.
you were talking, but I needed to connect with you on that. So yeah, so it's a
Well, I was fortunate that with my parents and my sisters, I always got a lot of support from them. And sometimes well, now I actually think that, I got so much of support that it actually enabled me to continue going back, because I knew that no matter what I did, my dad was always there to go and pick me up and, and help me. But that was my strength. I am where I am today because of the amount of strength and courage that they always gave me. And it's just my parents that when they watch this video, I want them to also know how sorry I am, because there were many times my dad had to come to my aid, pick me up, and where I couldn't even walk. The once I had been beaten up with the buckle of a belt. So as the blood poured down my face, I couldn't even, I couldn't see. And I remember it was in the middle of the night, and my dad had to go to our GP, take me there. And all I could remember the doctor saying or asking me was, why do you do this to yourself? Because he was our family GP. So every time I got beaten up, he was the one that would treat me. And I couldn't even see him that day, because of my eyes being closed. And or I just remember him asking, why do you do this to yourself? And, on that particular day, I was actually just beaten up because I was talking to a guy. So he assumed that I was having an affair. One of his friends told him that, I saw your wife talking to this guy. So he came from wherever he was drunk, closed the door, took off his belt, and he just started beating me. His dad tried to break down the door. He couldn't. And then eventually called my dad, and they did manage to open the door and save me. But, that was like from him, that was the worst beating that I'd gotten that night. And I'm so grateful to my parents because I put them through so much. I know as a parent it's not easy seeing your child go through all of this, but my dad just continued being there, and my mom being my strength. And every time I said I'm leaving, both times, they wouldn't actually believe me because I kept on going back. And
mm.
nobody
Why do you
understands
keep
that
going back?
it becomes an addiction, like a drug. It's you start bonding with the trauma, and it's what you want. That even after my first marriage, when I did meet a guy that was really nice to me, and he would treat me with so much of like compassion and care, and never screamed at me, but I just couldn't be with him. I felt that he wasn't giving me what I needed then, because all I knew my whole life was being abused.
Did
And
you think he
I
was
don't
too
know whether
nice?
that.
Did you think he was too
Sorry.
nice?
No, no.
Yeah, because
She met a guy after this. After when
Okay.
she left the first husband, she
yes.
met another guy that was extremely kind to her. But yeah, she didn't. She thought he was too
Mm.
nice.
I couldn't be with him because that wasn't the norm, someone that actually treated me properly. And after a few months, I ended up leaving him, and that was when I met my second abuser, and he had just what I needed at that time. Because and that's what I want women out there to know, is that never ever move from one relationship to the next without healing and
Yeah,
without fixing yourself. Because if you don't, you're going to move from one demon to the next, and you're going to continue the cycle because you don't know any better. But if you have to actually stop and say, you know what, I'm going to fix myself, I'm going to heal myself, and that's when you start finding your self-worth. You start loving yourself, you start being okay with being alone, then you can venture out into a better, healthier relationship. And I made that mistake of not healing and just moving from one relationship to the next. And that's how I found my second abuser. And I mean, he was no better. He was in and out of jobs all the time because he knew that he could rely on me financially, because I was always the one that was working. With him too, he accused me of having affairs. And, that was something that wouldn't even cross my mind. I wasn't even raised that way. It's something I didn't need to do. And not
I
that I
can
didn't
relate
have
to that.
the opportunity. I mean, looking this good. So
I love you, girl. I love your confidence. No, but I used to be accused of actually having affairs. Like, really? Because I have this personality. Like, I have a lot of boyfriends. My husband knows it. Ed's wife knows that he's my boyfriend. No, but you're my special boyfriend. Let's get real. So I have
I'm
this
your only
bubbly.
boyfriend in the U.S.
No, you're my favorite boyfriend. Come on now. My Zulu. And can't you see his name, Aladia? He's
yeah.
allowed to have many girlfriends. I mean, he has me today and he has you. So why are you complaining, guy? Get real. My Zulu Ed. Yeah, I used to be accused of actually having, but as Ed pointed out, it is what they do that they
Hmm.
project on actually us. And girl, yeah, you are beautiful enough to attract the right people into your life.
Absolutely.
But just
So
to
I have
put it
Inside
out
and
there, just to put it out there, when this video goes live, I'm not looking.
but you'll find when the time is right.
Yeah.
so
Sorry, Ed.
Elijah, I have a question for you. At what point did you realize enough is enough? I'm worth more than this, and then say and walk away? Because for a lot of people that I've encountered that have dealt with domestic violence and gender-based violence, there was something that was a trigger point where they were able to finally walk away from those toxic relationships.
I have to say that it's very, very difficult because even though I stopped loving my ex a long time ago, I used to tell him that all the time. I don't even know why I was with him until the end. But the turning point for me was I was asked to speak at a shelter last year in December. And how that even happened, it was just coincidence. My sister was actually going to speak, and she was not available. So she just gave them my name. And I mean, I'm not a motivational speaker. I've never done any of this before.
Because you speak from
You
the heart,
know?
it comes out beautiful. So you don't have to be just have to be
Yeah.
authentic. You do a great job. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was during the 16 days of activism that I went and I was speaking at the shelter. So initially when I was going to speak, I knew that I was going to be speaking to the ladies that were at the shelter. However, when I got there, it was actually I was speaking to the social workers that are there, just to motivate them and make them feel better, and like give them something back for what they're doing. So
Mhm.
when I was sharing my story and I was talking, and I thought to myself, how could I be doing this if I myself am going through abuse? I cannot be a hypocrite because if there's anything, that I allowed in my life, I allowed a lot of things and I let a lot of things happen to me. But the one thing that I was always was true to anyone that, that came into my life. And I said, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I want to do what I'm doing because this has always been what I wanted to do, to be able to share my story and give people the strength, and the courage. When I walked away that day, the very next day I went to the court. I got the divorce papers. He didn't even know about it. Then I went and told my dad that this is what I'm doing. Obviously they didn't believe me because they knew that, but they didn't say it, but I knew that they didn't believe me because they knew that every time I said it, it happened. I kept on going back. So it was just my dad that and my mom that knew that I was actually starting the divorce procedures and stuff like that. So my dad would take me to the court and do everything. And when he was served, I think he got a real shock. By then, I had moved out. I was staying with my parents, but he obviously thought I was going to come back. Yeah, so he got served in December. Our court date was in Feb. He didn't pitch. The divorce went through, and yeah, that was like the best day of my life because like a whole weight had just been lifted off my shoulders. I started being me,
This is
me
all
again, and
this is all this year, right? 2022? Is it this
yeah,
recent?
well, yeah, it started in December, yeah, and then my divorce went through in Feb this year. And like you said earlier on, about your personality and the way you are, and a lot of times I got told like it's because I smile too much that I would lead people on or give them the wrong impression. But I mean, it's who I am. I'm
Yeah.
not going to change that. And now I get to be exactly who I am. I get to laugh, I get to smile. I do whatever I do, me, and
Oh, I
that's
love
that's such an amazing feeling, and that's what women out there need to know. There is life after abuse.
Mm, yeah.
That's so powerful. There is life after abuse, you know. Has she?
You do not give your abuser, and that is so important, that there is life after abuse and there's a better life, because you finally get to be you, and to be your authentic self. And don't be scared of speaking about your abuse, because it's not your fault, because every abuser makes you believe that it is your fault,
You froze up a little bit, Nadia.
like whatever they do to you, you start to believe that it becomes a reality and a norm, where you believe it so much you apologize for it, for what you go through. So ladies out there, even men out there that are going through abuse, know that there is life after abuse. And like Ed said earlier, they don't change, it only gets worse. Even when the physical abuse stops, the emotional abuse, the financial abuse, like, I mean, I went through everything. And I'm glad, though, that was the university of life for me. And
No.
I definitely got my degree.
But you know, the way you look at the world, like even though you were going through all of this trauma, the abuse, but your positive projection to the world actually helped you move or navigate the space much easier, don't you think? Had you be of a depressive mindset, do you think it would have turned out differently?
Definitely, but not every day was a good day, because,
Yeah.
and like I said, sometimes I didn't even know where I got the strength from, because I could be having one of my worst days, lying in bed in my pajamas the whole day, but my WhatsApp statuses and my Facebook stuff will all be so positive, and no one would believe that I'm having the worst day, because I always wanted to make other people feel better. And that is actually more of what got me through whatever I was going through. And someone would see my status and comment and say, you know what, I really needed this today. And that instantly would give me a smile and gratification to know, you know what, even though I'm having the worst day, I changed someone else's day.
It talks about your selflessness, your desire to make the world more a happy space. And that gave you an element of gratification and happiness. But it wasn't authentic happiness, was it?
No, it wasn't,
Yeah.
because I always had this mask on.
Yeah.
It got to a point where I didn't even know what was my true self anymore. I didn't know when I was being real or when I was actually fake, because I was so good at faking it. Like when I would receive a bunch of roses at work, and yeah, and I had to smile and act all happy, but little did they know that he's sending me the roses because he had beat me up the night before that morning. So now he would send me flowers, and I would have had act all happy. Or when he came to fetch me from work, I would be play the loving wife. And yeah, eventually it got really bad, where I didn't even know whether I was real anymore. And I got to
I
a
can
point
relate to
where,
that.
when I used to tell him that I didn't love him, he used to tell me, no, it's just what you're going through at the moment. But if there's one thing that I knew at that stage, when I stopped loving him, that was actually real. Yeah.
I love you. Oh my God, you're like
I
amazing.
will just simply say, keep smiling. It's absolutely beautiful and it's infectious. So
Thank
don't
you.
let anyone stop you from smiling. Because I'm sitting here looking at you smiling and it's infectious, and the world needs that.
Yeah. The world needs more
Yeah.
of you, actually. And just your story. But what I love about you is the freeness in which you share, though, because it's a very, very difficult conversation to actually have, to tell people of what you've actually been through. What gave you, like, I know it happens in a supposed safe space at a shelter, but what made you go ahead and do it more publicly as you're currently doing? Like, what was the driver behind that?
Well, starting at the shelter, I knew then I had gained my wings and I was going to
Oh,
fly, and nobody was going to stop me.
say it again. I love that.
I knew that day that I had gained my wings and I was going to fly and nobody was going to stop me because, no matter what I did in life, like even with opening my business or doing well at work and all of that, I always felt that I had a bigger purpose in life, and that was to help people and share my story. And, like, when I spoke to my sister a few weeks ago, she said, I'm so happy that you're finally getting to do everything you've always spoken about, because it's stuff I've always wanted to do, to be able to share my story and help people out there. And after the shelter, I knew that there was no stopping me. A few times he would say to me, "Oh, do you always have to share whatever you're going through?" A family member of his said to me, "Oh, it's not nice for everyone to know what happened in your life." And I said, "Well, you know what? Too bad. If people out there are going to judge me, I don't want those people in my life. They can stay
Absolutely.
in their corners judging me. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing because I know why I'm doing it. And if I can change one life a day, then I know that I'm making a difference to one person. And if we eat, if all of us can just do that, we can all be the difference. And it doesn't take money, it doesn't take a big bank balance or fancy cars and fancy houses to be able to help people, because I know that. I mean, even when I hit rock bottom because of my ex, because he gambled everything. There was nothing that he didn't do. I'm eventually going to write a book. Yeah. So,
Good. And I'll
yeah.
help you.
So, yeah. So when he gambled, we lost everything from homes to cars, his business. Um, I ended up in a whole lot of debt because I had tried to help him to salvage his business. And that's how I ended up with having a 2 kilo packet of chicken, no pension fund or anything to fall back on. Because even from my previous job that I had, resigned, I used all of those monies to help him all the time, and I ended up in this position. But, it didn't keep me there, because I felt that, I have the spirit, I have the passion, I have the motivation. And, for as long as we are alive, we are living, we are not dead. People sometimes think that, okay, if you lose a house or if you lose a job, that life is over. But life is not over until you're 6 feet down. And that's
Oh
what
my
people
God,
need to
that's
know.
Ed's words. Well, can I tell you something? I mean, our
Yeah.
mission, Ed, you and I actually, for me, it's each one hold one life a day, one act of kindness. It does the same, and you do the same. There's a reason why we're on this platform, actually. And
Yeah.
Ed's words, as long as I'm 6 feet above ground, I
That's
have
a
a
good
lot to
one.
offer the world. So, yeah, so you kind of spoke the word. The man speaks regularly, actually. So I'm
Yeah.
glad. We speak the same language, clearly.
Yes.
I wanna switch gears a little bit. Um, Here you've been through a lot. Some of it is still just a little fresh, but you pivot, make a business, and all of a sudden someone reaches out to you and saying that you're nominated for Entrepreneur of the Year. Tell me how you felt, because it's what, only 2 years that you've been doing this,
Yes.
and to get this global nomination. How did you feel?
Well, I can't even describe it because I think I haven't actually digested it.
Oh, you're so humble though, but it's such an achievement. I mean,
It
it's
is.
such a phenomenal achievement. All those naysayers and all those people that didn't really support you, um, you know, and the fact that you believed in yourself is all that mattered, actually. Isn't that indicative of the story, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry about what people think of you, say about you. Just block out the
Mhm.
noise, stay your lane, and just do you, like you said. That's all that matters. And Rawan's words, just do you. And that's exactly what you did. And look
Thank
at the
you.
success you're attracting. But you know what I like about you, Ladia? From the time that I've known you, and it hasn't been too long actually. It's probably been like about 4 months now that we've been
Mhm.
interacting. But your kindness, your willingness to share. Like there was a time when I phoned her and I was like, and she says, "Please put my number on the phone, on the video." And I said, "Elijah, but everybody's going to phone you." She says, "Yeah, I want to be available to everybody."
Oh
That's what
wow.
she did. Whereas, like, she genuinely wants to be available to help and support. And not many people are like that. Well, I don't put my number out to everybody. I ask them to email me because I'm always in meetings and I don't have time to take everybody's call. So I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful there's people like you that is available to everybody. And she just publishes a number everywhere. So thank you. So yeah.
I'm scared to do that.
But you're a
But you
big
know
man.
what I actually found is that, and the reason why I do that is because I want to be available to people, because there are many times where people say, I want to do this and I'm doing this and I'm part of a GBV campaign, or I'm helping the homeless or human trafficking or whatever. But how often can you actually reach out to those people, or even the people with money and power? We feel we can't actually reach out to them because they are above, and they're on a different level. But I want to be on that level where people must know, we can call her at any time, we can speak to her at any time without judgment. And she's not going to say that she's busy or she's unable to help us. I want people to be able to relate to me and know. And something that you mentioned about being humble, and that is something that I will never ever change. Like, I was speaking to my son the other day, I was telling him, about a Facebook invite I had from one of the local artists. And he says, but mom, you used to follow him when you were young, and now he's sending you a Facebook invite. Just imagine that. But to me, yeah. But to me, it didn't even make a difference. I don't think, even with this award, it hasn't gotten to me where, I'm now going to become that unreachable person because I've been nominated for a global award or anything like that. It's important to always keep your feet on the ground while reaching for the stars, and always be humble. Don't take it to the next level, and don't let money or fame change you. And I know I will never change, because who I am is someone that anyone can actually relate to. And funny enough, I was sick for about 2 weeks. I had bronchitis, so I was at home, and I hadn't been going around doing my shopping and stuff. So my dad was doing it for me. So yesterday I went back to work and I decided to go and do shopping. And I had the most blessed experience, and I can't even describe it as good as it was. I just jumped off the car, and every single car guard in that parking surrounded me as if I was on the red carpet. And my staff that was with me, she was totally shocked. She couldn't believe it. They were all there saying, we prayed for you, your dad said you were sick, and ma'am, we're so happy that you're back, and you
Oh,
healthy, and how are you feeling? And I promise you, the smiles on their face, it was so genuine. And that is true love. And I
Absolutely.
always
yeah,
believed that, and I always said to my staff that, don't ever think that you're above anyone else, because you can even learn something from someone who's sweeping the streets. If you live life with that mindset, you will actually go further. You'll have a better circle around you, honest people, people that honestly care. Because I don't know, I was really ill, and I don't know whose prayer could have gotten me through whatever I was going through. And
I
then
know.
when
I
I
mean,
went, mm,
carry on. Sorry.
yeah, so
No,
yeah,
finish
and
it.
then when I went to work, I was walking through the center. I was going to see my friends at the gym, and at all the stores, everyone was like waving at me and saying hello, because they obviously realized that I wasn't there for so many days. Because I'm in this habit of, as I walk from my shop to the next, I would greet every single person, until I get to my gym, which is across the center. And everyone obviously missed that because I wasn't there to smile and greet them. And but that's life. Just smile. It's free. Give love, give friendship, care for people. It costs you absolutely nothing.
absolutely nothing. Nothing. And you never know a simple smile what it will do to the person on the other end. Man, I remember just walking by people when I first moved to the South in America. Up north in America, people are just hustling and bustling, just straight, never pay attention. I remember the first time moving to the South and I'm walking and someone looks at me and smiles and is like, good morning. And I looked behind me, I'm like, are they talking to somebody behind me? Because I wasn't used to that. I was like, oh, this is different, but this is nice. So, but yeah, keep smiling and keep saying those beautiful things like good morning and yeah,
Yes.
love that. People need it.
And as Alo just said, I mean, a smile is a universal language. Being kind is a universal language. Giving love, it doesn't cost anything. And if more of us actually do it, and Ed, just for your info, Elijah, you must always remember you need to explain yourself. They don't have car guards in the US.
Oh,
Unemployment, is very high in South Africa. So people find opportunity. So it's just groups of men that stand at the parking lot where you park your car with the hope that they look after your car so you could give them some money. Um, yeah,
Okay.
so to create some income for them. So
Yeah.
that's what car guards do. Do they really look after your car? The jury's out on that, but they do.
Well, they're there. They're there.
So yes, a larger so your passion and your courage and your and what you do out to the world is contagious, and when you don't do it, that energy is missed clearly. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for all that you do, actually, and thank you for, more importantly, believing in yourself, because if you didn't love yourself and walked out of this, you wouldn't be attracting as much as you are, because you're now focusing your energy on the positives, building your business, growing your community, supporting your community. Had you just utilized that energy and time in this relationship, you wouldn't be able to have as much resource to invest in your business. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, because we know when you're in a relationship, especially where someone's always putting you down, and you lose your self-worth, you don't actually think much of yourself. You don't even think you're capable of much. And fortunately for me, I was able to rise above that to a certain extent. It did affect me in many of my jobs where even though I was doing so well, at times, I would look to be angry at my bosses, and even though they treated me so well, I would get angry at them because I couldn't be angry at home. And but fortunately enough, my strength, my courage, and praying every day, it gave me the strength, to just overcome everything that I was going through. And you know the biggest blessing now is just having the platform to be able to share my story and help so many women out there. And I have a short-term goal to be able to want to be able to open a shelter. But I want to have a shelter with a difference, where it's not just a shelter where women are just taken in because they need to run away from something, but a shelter where when a woman leaves, she must be completely healed. They must be, I know the things that I had to do for myself, like meditation and yoga and reading and journaling and coloring, and all of those happy things. And I want a shelter like that, where when someone walks in there, it must be bright and fun and loving. And when the woman leaves from there, she
Partner,
must
darling.
love her so much.
We'll work on that. I
Yes,
have a similar mission, actually, to be able to, it's holistic healing, the ability to
hmm,
actually generate income, and the ability to live your best life ever. I think the best
absolutely.
gift that we could give the world is to be able to help them unleash their
Yeah.
potential with your support. Because what women fail to realize is we cannot walk the journey for them. They need to take the first step, and we can
Hmm,
walk the journey with them. I think that's
absolutely.
where the power is. If you had to leave a final message, Aladia, or if
Um,
for a final message, a woman that's going through the trauma, the abuse, the mental and the physical abuse right now, what would you say to them?
you are not a fixer. You're never going to change them, and you need to get out of it. Because no matter how much you try, no matter how much of love you think you give, no matter how much of care you give them, no matter how much you lose yourself, you lose financially, you lose emotionally, they're never going to change. So you need to take the first step to take care of yourself. And the first step is walking out of there. And even if you walk out of there with absolutely nothing but the shirt on your back, just know that the struggle after abuse is worth so much more than the struggle when you are actually in. Because that war that you're fighting when you're in that abusive relationship or that marriage, you're never going to win. But the war that you fight after that for your self healing and finding yourself and becoming you again, that's the war that you're going to actually win.
Oh my girl, did I tell you I love you? That was powerful. Thank you.
So that's
Thank
what you put in your book. That right there, you put that in the
Yes.
book. That is just absolutely amazing, amazing statement.
Thank you.
One last question. Well, not even a question. I want to put this to you. You referenced your dad a lot during this conversation. So This message is global, and you can stand right, sit right there. And what message would you give to your dad right now, um, that you haven't maybe shared at one point, or that you want to share for the world to know about your dad?
Um, well, my hard work and like resilience comes from my dad because my dad worked in the post office back in the apartheid days. And I remember my dad coming home really tired from work because back in the day they used to carry those heavy bags with all the mail inside. And my dad would never ever stay away from work, be it the hottest day or the rainiest day. And even when we would tell him, but dad, you never ever stay away from work and it's raining today, how are you going to walk in the rain delivering letters from one post box to the next? And he always went to work. And on a weekend, him and my mom would always make sure that we would buy this barrel of KFC and go to the Durban beachfront and sit in the park there and just eat that KFC. Oh, we would go and feed the pigeons, in the beachfront. And dad, I just want to let you know that you are my strength, and I am today because of who you are. You're the most amazing man. I could never have asked for a better dad than you, for all the strength that you've given me and being there whenever we call, and being our pillar of strength and our courage and our happy place, and always making sure that no matter what we were going through in life, you made sure that you created a better place for us. And my mom and dad are just so amazing. We look forward to those lunch dates at mom's place, or just going out with them, and or those morning conversations, those crazy conversations. And the one thing that I used to always say to myself when, well, I even wrote a letter, that if I had to die during all of this abuse, I'd written a letter once and I'd given it to my parents to keep, for them to open if something had happened to me. And fortunately enough, it didn't come to that. And now I just want to tell them how sorry I am, because I know that I put them through hell and back. And they didn't need to do all of the things that they did, but they did it anyway, and they continue giving me so much of strength and happiness and courage. And I wish I could be half the parent that they were. And that's what I'm actually working on now, to create a better place for my granddaughter and for my son-in-law and for my boys and my daughter, because I gave them a hard life. And to my children as well, when you're watching this video, just know that I didn't choose my abusers, I chose the abuse. And at times, I made them feel like my abuser was more important to them, because I hadn't been speaking to my daughter for 2 years as well, because she made a decision to not speak to me, to not have all that drama in her life. And I appreciated her making the decision, because the fact that she could set a boundary in her life, something I couldn't do. And we just started talking about, it's about a month now that I got to speak to her, got to see my granddaughter only when she was 9 months old. And to my children, I just want you to know that I'm really, really sorry. I made all those wrong decisions because of the wrong choices that I made. And it was never choosing the abusers over you guys. It was choosing the abuse, and it was choosing what I knew then, which was best for me. And I promise you that I'm going to make the rest of our lives the best of our lives. And we're going
Wow.
to have many memories. We're going to travel, and we're going to do everything happy and fun. And I'm really sorry to my mom and dad, to my sisters, to my kids. I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart for all the decisions that I made. But the best thing is that God has given us a second chance, and not many people get that. We all are still alive, and we're going to live this. And the past is the past, and that's exactly where we're going to leave it. And to my abusers, well, the one is late, the other one is still alive. I pray that you change before you find someone else. Do not continue with the cycle. Fix yourself, heal yourself, because there's obviously reasons why you did what you did as well. And, we need to end the cycle. And the only way we're going to end the cycle is if abusers realize why they're doing what they're doing and say, you know what, I need to fix myself. Don't move to another victim, and don't make someone else miserable, because not everyone's going to be as strong as I was or be able to withstand everything that I did. So, to my abuser, when you're watching this video, just know that, you need to change, you need to fix yourself. Do not repeat the cycle. Be the difference.
Oh, that is powerful. Do you forgive him?
Yes, I do. I forgive him,
Such a powerful.
and yeah, that was part of my healing. I had to work on forgiving him. I wrote a letter to him, which I didn't give to him actually, but I just needed to write a letter with everything that I felt. Yeah, and letting go of all of my hurt and anger. I'm not angry at him anymore. I used to be angry. I used to be resentful, but I'm not anymore. I forgive you for what you did to me. But just know that you need to work on yourself.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You can land the messages. What he does with it is a different story. You said so many
Absolutely.
beautiful things about your dad. You are so blessed to have the family that you've had to be able to support you. Not many people have that. So people who are going through a hard time, who does not have the family support, there are organizations willing to help you. Reach out. You're not alone. Family is not necessarily blood. Just
Yeah.
Hmm.
outsiders can become
Yes.
family. I'm grateful as much as you're grateful to your family, to my dad as well, and my mom. I put them through a lot. I mean, my abuser not only shot me twice, he shot my dad and he shot my aunt when I was about to leave. So the reality is, when you have a close bond, sometimes they cannot handle that. So, yes, we have survived a lot. And look at us, where we are. We're still
Two
smiling.
beautiful women
Thank
with
you. Thank
beautiful
you. We'll take that,
smiles.
Thank
darling. We'll take
you.
that.
And
I think
I added a new girlfriend. I got another girlfriend in South Africa. Wow.
the reason I named you Zulu Ed because you can add to the list as long as I'm number one. Get that? Got that? No,
You'll
the
stay number
reality
one.
is you never know what somebody's been through. When people look at Aladia Mahomed, they go like, my God, look at that sprightly, beautiful, bouncy woman. She has so much love to give to the world. Nobody knows where Aladia's come from. It
Yeah.
is on these platforms we want to demonstrate that no matter where you've been, if you can actually use that pain or whatever it is you went through to fuel a positive outcome, it's possible.
Yeah.
So, and the point is, nobody should live and believe it's the end of the world because it never is, as you both point out daily, until you take your last flippin' breath. If you're breathing, you can make magic happen. That's
I
Absolutely.
would say keep sharing your story because your story is going to be a key to unlock a door for so many other individuals, women and men, that are going through similar situations. So, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your story. Absolutely powerful. Once again, congratulations on the Entrepreneur of the Year award. I'm looking forward to having some money when I get there. This has been another
Oh, guys, before we go, it is Women's Day in South
Day,
Africa.
Women's Day,
Maybe
South
you will
Africa.
land a message for each woman around the world. We'll start with you, Zuluet. What is it that you want to tell the world?
For all the ladies, the women that are out there, you are beautiful. Regardless of your color, your shape, your size, what you've been through, there is beauty within you. And if no one has ever told you, or if no one's told you today, I love you and you're beautiful.
Thank you, Silhouette. Aladia? Thank you, Silhouette. That was beautiful.
A woman with a voice is by definition a strong woman. So please do not let anyone silence you. Speak out because you are powerful and what you have to say is important. I want to hear more of you. I want to help more of you. So just know that you're not alone and you can reach out. Together, we are stronger.
I'm just going to hang on to Together We Are Stronger. Thank you, Ed and Aladia. Love and light, everyone.
Love and
And
light.
yeah,
To the next time. Have a
Love
great one,
life.
everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
bye.